Pinoys dominate nursing, domestic help, and teaching jobs. I break it down to one powerful drive: caregiving. Meet the single biggest influence in a person's development. I'm on the case and on the job to show you how we discarte with care. Join me as I delve deep into the workings of the ingenious Filipino mind, exposing the connections between Pinoy pride and our single most powerful weapon, that thing called discarte.
They say that coal mining is one of the most dangerous jobs in the world. One wrong breath, black lung disease. One wrong swing of the pick, and Bogart the explorer becomes Bogart the future archaeological find. Dangerous? Most definitely. Well, let's talk about the degree of difficulty. I mean, how hard can it truly be? You dig until you find something, and when you do, you turn it to rubble, and you move it from here to here. I mean, and with today's mining equipment, it shouldn't be that hard. But what about the President of the United States? Surely that's a degree higher in the difficulty scale. But remember, when you think about it, the degree of difficulty is inversely proportional to the amount of help you get. And the President has an entire cabinet full of helpers, not to mention 2 whole houses of smart folks who have no shortage of opinion on anything in the world. With the amount of help he's getting, I can imagine it's not really that difficult to be President of the United States. But caregivers, on the other hand, now that's a different story. Ah! 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 In my research of the hardest job in the world, caregiving, I came across this ad. An operations position, mandatory 135 plus hours a week, on call at all times, day or night. Long hours, some days you won't get time to eat or have a full night's sleep. No holidays for stretches of years. Responsibilities also include chauffeuring, cooking, cleaning, and counselling. To be considered for this role, you must be willing to learn on the job, with no formal training is provided. Be willing to be on call 24/7, and have unlimited patience and be calm under pressure. I followed the directions on those ads and it led me to here. At first glance, it looks like a typical Filipino picnic. But you know what? I have a feeling that we're finally going to meet that creature that performs all those jobs in those classifiers that we just read. The caregiver. Oh, look! There it is! The great Nana Yaya, also known as the ate or aling, but mostly just known as Yaya for short. Look at it, it's beautiful. Unfortunately, this creature is doomed to endless hours and thankless labor. Look at that amazing multitasking creature, feeding that big, beautiful guy with food and playing with the kitties with a doll while making a sandwich with a foot. Absolutely magnificent to see all these things in action, in harmony, in synchronomy. Yayas can be found everywhere in the world, but there are a few choice places where you can find the best of the best. Look at this, a list of the best places to be a yaya. Norway, Finland, Iceland, Denmark, Sweden. Basically all of Europe, or any place with a small population and a really good internet connection. Remember, inversely proportional. The more advanced your environment is, the easier everything is. Look at this other list, a list of the worst places to be a caregiver. Sierra Leone, Congo, Chad, Mali, Somalia. Basically, Tundu. Some of the poorer countries like Mexico or the Philippines have become recognized worldwide as the best breeding ground for caregivers. This is because these countries have just the right amount of challenges that can turn a typical yaya into a great one. Now, while not all technology is available, there's at least enough so the creature can still perform.
Up next, we come back to explore what makes the caregiver such an interesting creature. We set out to explore the world of caregivers and found ourselves face to face with a great Nana Yaya. This majestic creature's job trumps both a coal miner and the President of the United States for sheer degree of difficulty.
Caregivers are not only well trained in the domestic arts, but they're also quite intelligent. Many are bilingual, can help your kids with their maths homework, and can even troubleshoot some of your computer problems. To learn more, I'm going undercover as a dad so I can interview one of these amazing creatures. Let's go.
What is your name, please, your job description, and your age?
My name is Chub Solano. I'm a licensed caregiver, and I'm 38 years old.
Can you please tell me what your qualifications are as a caregiver?
I'm a patient person.
How did you become a caregiver?
When I was in Singapore, they're looking for a nursing aide, and then at the time, I go back here in Philippines to take the course, and that's the time that they boomed the course of the caregiver.
The caregivers.
Yeah.
It's absolutely in demand
Yes.
at the moment.
Yes, exactly.
And can you please describe a typical day of a caregiver?
You fix first yourself
You fix yourself.
before your patient wake up. No?
Hygienic.
Yes.
Wonderful. And then
You need to run, because time is gold.
time is gold and the health of the patient
Yes.
slowly diminishing.
Yes, exactly.
It is said that we all started dying the day we were born. Do you
Because
call
they-
it the patient or the victim? Which would you prefer? What do you call it?
I call them as my angel.
Your angels. That is an absolutely beautiful term.
Yeah. Once you care, it's a really an impact of unconditional love.
Absolutely. Your heart is definitely good. Now, what skills are necessary to become a caregiver?
You must know what the case of the patient, and you must know how you will do for the patient that you're taking care.
Right. It's a
So-
constant learning process.
Yes, and you must need to listen to the doctor.
Listen to the doctor.
Yeah, listen
but
to the
yourself, you have certain medical knowledge.
Not all caregivers are allowed to do anything on the patient unless they have the
Authority of the doctor. Has that ever happened where a caregiver has had a relationship with a doctor?
I don't know others, but in my case, the family of my patient,
Yes.
they love me because the way I take care of my patients is really absolutely wonderful.
Why do you think Filipinos are the best types of caregivers?
Hospitable.
Of that quality?
Yeah. Even you put people in other places, Filipino people in other places,
Right.
the culture of our Filipino are still there. They are loving, they are caring.
Exactly. Now, I know you have some excellent and numerous qualities, but this is an interview question that is a must at every interview. Why should I hire you?
Aside, I have a quality as a licensed caregiver, but I can guarantee to you that I can take good care of your family or the patient of your family.
It is indubitably
Thank
a
you.
pleasure to have met your acquaintance. I will call you, do not call me. That's how it works.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shara. Tip number 1. Apply the cleaning properties of everyday household food items like salt, vinegar, and lemons. Number 2. You can use ketchup to polish silverware. Tip number 3. Segregate lunch food items to maintain freshness. Tip number 4. Always have baby powder. Gets them dry, gets sand off kids, and keeps everyone cool. Tip number 5. Line car seats and sofas with towels to keep them clean and looking new. Tip number 6. When cutting onions, breathe through your mouth to avoid tears. Tip number 7. Want a more efficient way of dusting? Try walking around in thick old cheap cotton socks and you'll find that you won't do as much. Tip number 8. Don't have a duster? Use Scotch tape turned inside out. Also works for floors, crumbs, everywhere. Tip number 9. Almost everything can be washed in a dishwasher. Toys, trinkets, dishes, whatever. And tip number 10. Clean your blender by blending soap and water.
Aha! So this is where the training comes from. These training videos called soap operas, otherwise known as teleseries. Well, I can certainly see how they would be great skill builders. They learn empathy from all kinds of characters. They care if your table is not spotless. They care if your shirt is not ironed. They care if the provinciano does not get it together with a rich girl. Also, these teleseries have tons of examples as to how children should not turn out to be, like the serial wife beater, or the compulsive cheater, or that guy who just falls in love with other people's girlfriends, which in turn makes her a great child rearer.
We take a look into other types of caregivers and where caregivers go to train before going out into the world. Up next. We set out to explore the world of caregivers and came face to face with a great Nana Yaya. We also discovered that Yayas are also highly intellectual creatures. But what other types of caregivers are out there? I'm on the case to find out.
So far, we've explored the day-to-day life of a domestic Yaya. But what about the other types of caregivers? Now, the Philippines trains dozens of other types of skilled caregivers, and we're probably known as one of the best producers of nurses worldwide. We're here today at the Asia Pacific Caregiver and Healthcare Training Center to learn more about caregiving.
I'm Christopher G. Senin. I'm the Academy Head of Asia Pacific Caregiver and Healthcare Training Center. We are a TESDA Accredited Training Center. We cater to train caregivers, nursing assistants, massage therapists, and pilot wellness students. There are many opportunities for the caregivers who graduated from here. They can work in Canada as a live-in caregiver, or maybe they could work in an institution. Locally, they can be hired as private caregiver also. And then for the other training programs that we have, they can work in a massage therapy spa or a wellness center. Generally, we Filipinos are caring. It's very, very natural for us to do the activities of a normal caregiver. That's why we excel in giving caregiving practices to other countries and other people also.
Okay, now that we've got our napkins out, let me show you how to fold them properly for table setting, proper manners type thing. So you lay it out like so in a diamond position, and then you fold it halfway, the other way. Just nice. From a diamond, make it a triangle, right? On the bottom there, you fold it about half an inch, and then you turn it around. There you go, upside down. Now, from one edge, you roll. Now, once you have yourself a nice shafty looking rod, the bottom part here, the one that's sticking out, you just tuck it in one of the folds there at the bottom that we made earlier. Make it look good. Now, the top part, to make it look a little bit classier, like a candle, you fold one side and tuck it in on itself. Okay, now it looks like a bloody candle. It's beautiful. Now, you set that to the side.
Nice.
Now, what we're going to do is we're going to set the table. In setting any table, you'll need a placemat, a table mat, a plate mat. Next is, you got to remember when setting your table, the word fork. What is the first letter of the word fork?
P.
Yes, surprisingly. That stands for the forks. And in the word fork, the F is on the left. So you fork the fork on the left, like so.
F.
What's the next letter in the word fork?
O.
Don't be. Very good. I was about to hit you, but good. All right, very good. Now that stands, the plate stands as the O. It does look like an O, doesn't it? It does. It does look like an O. Next is, what letter is next in the word fork?
R.
That's good. You just ignore that one and go ahead and put the knives in there. Now make sure the distance separation between these utensils and the plate is about half an inch to an inch, so that when you put your finger wrap around one of those things, it won't hit anything else, you know. The knife goes there, and finally, what's the last letter in fork? It's K. That was for the knife. So this is the spoon. It's not in the word fork. That's why you put it last right there, half an inch away from the knife. One thing to remember is do like this. Do left hand and your right hand like this. Okay, you put it down right there. Nice. Now that means you're pointing towards a direction, like straight ahead. It means on your left hand goes the butter knife, the bread, and the butter plate there. I'll let you borrow mine because, you know, you need it. You need it a lot.
I need it.
Okay, and on your right side, where the spoon and the knife is pointing, goes the glass, where your drink will go. Because you last longer with liquids than you do with solid food. Do you know that one, mate? Remember the napkin that we made? Remember it? Do you still remember it?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now you put that napkin inside the glass. It's supposed to just stand there and do its bloody job. Okay, there you go.
Nice.
Now you got yourself set proper to eat fine dining food. Sardinas.
Sardinas, surgery.
So,
Marami ba?
Up next, we look at the skills that a caregiver must perfect before being truly called caregiving masters. They say that necessity is the mother of invention. Well, today, we discovered that mothering necessitates constant invention. Let's take a look at the various contraptions and tests that training schools have come up with to make sure that their caregiver students are prepared to face the world.
after the classroom, novice caregivers don't go out into the wild just yet. They have to first test the skills that they've learned, hone them to perfection before they can finally call themselves caregiving masters. Let's take a look at some of the practical examinations of a caregiver training school. First step in the CPR is to check your environment first, if it's safe to conduct the CPR without risking your own personal safety. Then check for the BSI, or body substance isolation. You treat everything that comes from your patient as sort of infectious to contaminate you and anyone you get in contact with. Next is to actually orally and visually check the patient if they're responsive by gently tapping them. Hui! Hui! Stop! Hui! If they're unresponsive, you check for the pulse on the neck or just on the neck. If pulse is non-existent and there is no breathing, which means they're both negative, then you perform the CPR, or the check for the compression site. Find a place where you can put your hand to compress. Generally in the chest area, right in between your nipple line. Your less dominant hand goes underneath, interlocking with your more dominant hand. Make sure your elbows do not bend. The ratio of doing it is 30:2, meaning 30 pumps or compressions to 2 blows on the nose or the mouth. Give it air. If the patient has recovered indeed and resuscitated, you may proceed with the recovery position. You position the patient on their side facing the rescuer. This is to ensure that anything liquidy lodged in their respiratory canal goes out of their bodies because you put them on their side. Gravity takes care of the work. Now, the bed bath is a process that begins with the head and ends with the toes. Gently grab the neck and make sure not to break them, because the purpose of your job is to keep them alive. Next, you have to cover the eyes and put cotton balls on the ears. With a light finger, they gently massage their hair while at the same time feeling for small lesions. Now, you may ask, why the ears? Well, definitely not the nose, because they're not dead yet. The caregivers use 2 types of waters. One is soapy, to soap the patient up, and one is regular, clean, sanitized water. Proper motion would be the S motion. You start from the forehead, work your way across, and then through your cheek, and then go back to your neck, and then make sure you look all pretty. Next step in the process is washing with soapy water the outer extremities of the torso, beginning with the arms. The correct way of doing this is washing from the distal to the proximal to improve circulation on the patient's body. When washing the abdomen, it's recommended to follow an up and down motion from one side of the body to the next. What they're doing right now is now starting to wash the legs. Again, motion of washing from distal to proximal is highly recommended as it encourages good blood flow. Right now they're turning the patient over on his side so they can have access to the back area, which they will then now have to wash. After washing the entire body, we come to the most sensitive portion of a patient's anatomy, which is the perineal area. This process is lovingly referred to as perineal care. After everything is said and done, the patient's all clean, they dry him up, they put the gown back on, returning the customers, or in this case, the patient's privacy. One important skill to learn when you finally have yourself a little bundle of joy that the stork delivered is how to clean such bundle of joy. Now there are two types of bathing techniques for babies. First one is the sponge bath. Now you give a sponge bath if the baby's umbilical cord has not fallen off yet, because if you use a tub, the constant introduction of water on the umbilical cord might cause some infection. However, if the baby's umbilical cord has already fallen, then you may proceed safely with a tub bath. Now the caregivers carry the baby using what's called a football carry. They use their hands to support the head, and the rest of the arm supports the neck and the spinal cord. Next is of course the changing of the diapers. Now if you're one of those eco-friendly folks, you might want to use a lampin or some of those eco-friendly recycled diapers, or those diapers made out of straw. There's so many eco diapers today that you just have to make sure you choose the right one. How? The internet. Next step of the process is holding the baby up towards the tub. Now you don't just throw it in like some rock. No, you slowly introduce the baby to the water. First, the feet. You allow the baby to play a little bit with the water to introduce it to the watery environment. Once it gets used to it, then you can slowly drop the baby into the tub like a rock. Just proceed wiping the entire body until the baby is clean. How will you know? When the baby doesn't stink anymore. Now you can put the clothes back on. Unless you're one of those people who just let the kids run around the streets with no clothes on. Hey, your parenting style, your way. 'Cause baby, I know loving you till 17. Think about it. We just had a close look at what is described as the toughest job in the world, to be a mum. Now, you don't necessarily have to have given birth to do some mothering. We've seen how nannyayas, how they mother over multiple families, not because they can, but because they care. There's just something innate, in motherhood instincts that reminds us of our higher purpose in life, and that is to be of service. Being of service is not just being available or offering help. It's about going above and beyond, working overtime, learning things you thought you once couldn't, finding solutions in situations where nobody else is available to bail you out. Mothers, driven by necessity, are truly the mothers of invention. When things have to get done, they simply go beyond all barriers. Physical limitations, fatigue, relentless kids, not enough hours in a day, no rest, no training, no sleep. But mothers manage. Because the main purpose is to make sure you survive. It means as long as they find ways to keep caring, they'll find ways to be of service.
Join me, Bogart the Explorer, as I return for another season of Discovery. This time round, my insatiably curious nature leads me to explore the stuff that Pinoys dominate, even with no formal or technical background. Break the process down with my unique brand of pseudoscience. I explore the citizens of a nation that foreigners travelled halfway around the world to taste. It's not just our spices or our adobo, it's descarte in a pan, just like Mama used to make.